As Amanda said, I am the Reverend Deborah Tinsley, not the Deborah mentioned in the Bible. That was somebody else, okay? With my husband, we're members here at, covenantal partners here at Vista Grande, and I think that's since 2014. I was trying to remember. I think that date is right. It's a delight to be with you here, and I hope it will be for you as well. Today we're going to play a little bit with the order of worship. We're going to have the charge, benediction, and then a hymn at the end. Also, I'm hoping we'll be talking together about some of the people of faith and faithfulness that have influenced our lives, both here and have time at the agape meal later. During this time, we are going to sing together what I believe is the first public presentation of a song written for us by our own Amanda Udis Keller. It was written for the Southeastern Association regional meeting of the Conference of the United Church of Christ, but because some things went on at the meeting, it was running long or something, they didn't get to use it. Well, I had seen the words and I thought, this has to be sung. And it does speak to the work of the church, something we're talking about today. So, if you will, I think we have it up, or we can put it up. Let's do the first verse. It's a familiar tune in the midst of new dimensions. So the song was actually written by Amanda, the words. The material was given to her by our Donna, and then the hymn is by Julian Rush. That's UCC. Nice. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Oh, there's more.
I actually do know what day it is today, in spite of what I put on the bulletin. Today is November 3rd, and we're celebrating All Saints, All Souls. This is a time for us to look back and honor those that came before us, celebrating their lives and their influence on us. We're talking about their faithfulness, or at least I am, and I hope you will as well. I have something here I want to read to you. Let's see. Faithfulness is a quality that encompasses loyalty, trustworthiness, and steadfast commitment. It involves remaining true to one's word, promises, and obligations, even in the face of challenges or temptations. Faithfulness can be demonstrated in various aspects of life, such as relationships, work, and personal beliefs. In relationships, faithfulness implies fidelity, honesty, and unwavering support. It involves prioritizing the well-being of the other person and avoiding actions that could harm the bond. In the workplace, faithfulness means being reliable, dedicated, and committed to one's responsibilities. It involves fulfilling duties with integrity and upholding the values of the organization. On a personal level, faithfulness involves adhering to one's own principles and beliefs. It means staying true to oneself even when faced with external pressures or conflicting opinions. Faithfulness can also refer to religious or spiritual beliefs involving unwavering trust and devotion to a higher power. In essence, faithfulness is the foundation of strong and meaningful relationships, both personal and professional. It fosters trust, builds confidence, and creates a sense of security. By embodying faithfulness, individuals can cultivate lasting connections and live a life of integrity and purpose. Those are not my words, and many of you here will be very surprised to learn those are the words of Gemini, the AI thing on my phone. People are laughing right now because they know what a technophobic person I am. But our phones broke and we had to get new ones. And a very nice person at Verizon said, no, really, play around with it, see what you think. So my first intentional interaction with AI was, okay, so what's faithfulness? And I'm so glad I did that. That is really good. I really appreciate it. It's very apt and very clear definition of what faithfulness is. So it got me thinking, how do we learn faithfulness or humor or integrity or kindness or generosity or compassion? And of course, my background many years ago with child developmental psychology, we learn it where we are embedded. We learn it from our caretakers, our parents. We learn it from our environment, from the institutions we're embedded in, like schools, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, different friends. It comes to us and we're trained and shaped by where we are and who we associate with. We teach our children to be the people with those kind of qualities by the books we read, by the television programs we watch. All of that inculcates faithfulness and all those qualities in us. So we would do well to be reminded of this as we strive to raise good human beings and choose our leaders. So we have this day to celebrate and give thanks and to honor those who've come before us and led by example. Led with courage and reliability, integrity, passion for a cause, enthusiasm. And by these examples taught us what it means to be people who are faithful. And we've all had these aspects of this in many areas of our lives, but I was thinking especially of here at Vista Grande. We've been so richly blessed. I've been privileged to be associated with Vista Grande for many, many years. I go back to when church was being held in South Hall. So when I look at the plaque in the entryway, in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about, there's a plaque of the founders put up on the wall in the entryway. I don't just see names. I see Frank, Cornell, and Mary. Frank, big guy, slow smile, super nice guy. His wife, Mary, her laugh, very distinctive. I see Lanning Johnson, Reverend Lanning Johnson, and his family, his wife and children. I see our own dear Bob Howard, Reverend Bob Howard, for whom our garden is named. I don't know if y'all knew that. And the first one I remember, the very first time it was at Vista Grande, was Reverend Carla Gilbert. And for this Catholic-raised little girl who had planned to be a nun, actually, way before you, John, that was quite an awe-inducing experience. I would say that Carla Gilbert had quite the influence on my life. So when we think of these people, we think of how they impacted us. And I was wondering if anybody had any particular person that came to mind while I was talking and would like to share their thoughts and impressions? Harima. Oh, and somebody tell me if anybody, yeah, Harima. Sure, yeah. You know, we do need to use the microphone because people on Zoom can't hear us if we don't. And people who have trouble hearing, period. Thank you. Tell me, give you a boost.
I think I can put my head towards the mic. So right away I thought about my grandfather. He was a bastard son of a very influential rich man in Panama who did not have as an example how to be faithful, but he was the example for me of faithfulness to his wife, his entire life, and to his family, his 3 daughters, and then all of us grandchildren. I always wondered how it could be that somebody who did not have that kind of example growing up could develop that faithfulness. And I think it was through the church. He was part of the board of the church in his small town. He was a volunteer firefighter, so he was very involved with the community. And he gave us such a wonderful example to all of us grandkids. His name was Pedro Pablo Sanchez, and there is a school named after him in Panama. He was very influential in the community. So I definitely think about him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna. Oh, do we have that?
So I even brought a prop. I listened to Deborah last week, even though I was on Zoom. So what informed my life? Over the past several years, all of my years, I've had many role models. But the family members that really stand out for me are my 2 grandmothers. They were Presbyterian background and Salvation Army background. And even though I didn't spend a lot of time with them, just hearing the stories from my dad, that's my next person, he would be the one that would always take us to church because mom was busy with a baby or a sick child or something. So it was always my dad who took us to church. And so he introduced us to the United Church of Canada, which is a united church similar to the United Church of Christ. Very similar, that's why we're here. In 1987, when we moved to Colorado, after we unpacked our boxes, the first thing we, in our minds and our hearts, did was find a church. This is the church we went to, and we never turned back. So why did we stay here? What is the faith life here for us? Well, when you're in a military family and you move around, what you want when you move is community. So this church offered community, and then it offered a place where we could share our gifts. The first thing I did when I moved here was join the mission team and got involved with that. And how many years have we been here? 30? Still on the mission team. So if you're looking for community or a place to share your gifts, get involved in one of the activities or more. People come together here to do mission work, community work, projects within Vista Grande, projects of the greater community and the world, and much more. But I go back to my dad. What grounds me and keeps my faith alive My dad was in the Navy, that's why we moved around. And he had this hymnal. This is what they used on the ships. And whenever they were doing a service when the ship was docked, he would take me. And so that is something that was very built into my DNA, I guess. My favorite hymn is in here. And I will not sing it, but I will read the chorus. It's called, Will Your Anchor Hold? Of course, it's in a Navy hymnal, but I'll read the chorus. We have an anchor that keeps the soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll, fastened to the rock which cannot move, grounded firm and deep in the Savior's love. So when I need grounding, which a lot of times we don't recognize when we need it, but when I recognize I need a grounding moment, I go to this hymnal. Thank you.
Is there anybody on Zoom or? Okay.
Hey, this is Dave. I got one.
Go, Dave.
Hey, I thought of, when you said that, I thought of North Dakota State University, where I met my bride. I won't say how many decades ago, but I ended up, even though I was super into science, and part of me wanted to reject religion because of science. I thought there was a conflict there. And but I kind of ran into the University Lutheran Center at North Dakota State. And like I said, that's actually where I met Denise, and much to her regret. No, just kidding. The pastor there, his name is Ralph Rusley. And he introduced me to a bunch of things that kind of opened my mind and helped feed the why I showed up at church but didn't know why kind of thing. And kind of helped me point out, a lot of us don't take that Bible stuff super literally. What's the real point behind the story? What is it really getting at? He ran on the campus. He ran what was called a Science and Theology Forum, where he tried to always bridge that gap. And he taught about how faith is less about following the rules and a lot more about grace and good news. And it just opened up, all the things that, I think if you quiz the average person on the street that they hate about religion, he said it, he helped teach it doesn't have to be that way. And he really lived it. He's long since passed away, but he was a huge impact on me. And yeah, that's what I thought of.
Thank you, Dave. Tegan.
I also listened to you last week, and I wrote a poem about the person who influences me. My faith was born on the wings of a fallen angel. He has taught me much in the last 7 months. He was a former hospital chaplain. He's shown great kindness and great courage, and has shown me how to walk in the footsteps of Jesus. His love for others is incomparable. His compassion for all is evidence. My faith was born on the wings of a fallen angel.
Thank you. I think we're all thinking of people that have influenced our faith. I do want to lift up one for me, and that was the Reverend Bob Howard. He was a small, quiet, very, very humble man, with wisdom just falling out of him all over the place. He'd open his mouth and, whoa, somebody get a pen and paper and take all this down. I wish we did. Bob had this habit, this wonderful habit of any time, especially a younger minister was preaching, he would take notes and then he would write you a note. And I saved all the notes that he wrote to me, all of them. I grew from what he shared. And I remember at one point, I had a friend who was a minister who was a very, very sensitive person. She did get her feelings hurt very easily. I, on the other hand, I'm on the other end of the scale. If you're going to hurt my feelings, you need to let me know in advance that's what you're doing, because I grew up with brothers. Come on. Bob wrote me this one note, and I thought about it for a really long time, and I was sort of trying to figure out where he was going with it. So I showed it to her, and she said, "Oh my gosh, that's brutal." And I went, "What?" She said, "That's brutal. I don't know if I could get up and preach again." And it's interesting perspective. Perspective is what we hold, what we view how we view things. I thought Bob was being so wise and caring and generous. Think of taking the time to write somebody a letter, and putting your heart in it and wanting to help. That's how I took it. So I know a lot of times the people that we both admire are sometimes the people that we wonder about or have issues with. And I guess as I look back on so many of the founders, their children that stayed involved with Vista Grande, all I can think about, in spite of the fact that I actually had arguments with a few of them, is that what good people, what incredible people. All of us are so busy, life is so urgent. We're pulled in so many directions. Sometimes I feel like taffy in a taffy pole. And yet, they were here. They were faithful. They showed up. They did the work. Maybe they grumbled about it, and maybe they didn't always do it how I would have done it, But it got done, and it got done in a community of caring and support who had their eye on a common goal. And that's what I think about when I think about those who've gone before, not just the people at Vista Grande, my grandmothers, my mother-in-law especially, other people in our lives. And all of the people mentioned, we hold them close. John and I have a saying in our family. Most people say, "What would Jesus do?" We say, "What would Denny do?" That was the patriarch on his side of the family. And he was that influence in everyone's life. Even the great-grandkids to this day talk about Denny. So hold those people close. Honor them. Thank you for sharing. I'm very appreciative that we have this legacy at Vista Grande. We have it in little bits and pieces in the photo albums that are here. Beautiful photo albums that were put together by Donna and so many others here at the church. We have the legacy recorded in the annual reports of what we had done that year and what we were looking forward to doing. We have it in executive council, thousands of executive council minutes of the things that have come up and how they were dealt with. We have all of these people since the beginning, so many gone now, in our hearts and minds as influencers. Is that what they say on Facebook and all? Influencers in our lives. It's written that as long as a person's name is spoken, they never really die. And so I'd keep these names alive. Remember the faithful departed, those already mentioned today, and those that we call to our minds as we sit here in silence, and in the names of those offered up aloud, if you'd like to do that, or in your heart and in your mind. Let's take a moment of reflection and just bring some of the faces and names to mind.
Nancy,
Nancy.
Jackie, Jerry,
Bruce. We do stand in awe of their faith and courage and commitment of establishing an inclusive, progressive, and radically hospitable church here in this city at that time. And then they took on the greater vision, audacious vision, of building this space, this sanctuary, this church that we use today. I'm in awe that they chose to be the church in that way, in this city at that time. A great leap of faith. So in gratitude, in love, in awe, we give thanks to God for their lives, for their faithfulness, their courage, their example. If you would join in singing verse 2 of Folks of Vista Grande. What do we, the inheritors of a way of faith that engages in community in response to the teaching of Jesus to love one's neighbors as oneself, see as our legacy? What is our vision? About 5 years ago, we crafted a vision statement which reads, "We covenant together to imagine and live into a world where God's kingdom, vision of human and planetary flourishing, comes to pass through the work of love, justice, peace, equality, and extravagant hospitality. We envision nothing less than a world restored to wholeness, wellness, joy, and gratitude for all of God's creation." The work of love, justice, peace, equality, and extravagant hospitality, so that God's vision of human flourishing might come to pass. That work is as small a gesture as handing out a PB&J under the bridge on Tejon and saying, "Here you go, this is for you." Because what you're really saying is, this is for you. I see you. I care for you. I need you to survive. So here I am. It's as huge and audacious as believing God calls each of us to have faith that a world can come into being where no one is hungry. No one lacks a bed, a roof over their head, or meaning for work, or respect or human dignity, that there can really be a world without war, without hate, a world where each of us does our part, first in believing in the dream, and then secondarily by stepping up to be that person living into the dream. No matter how small the effort, no matter how hard the challenges or heartbreak, to be the person of courage, the loyal, supportive, trustworthy person of faith. And that's huge. That's huge. We're so greatly blessed, and I believe that each one of us has something to offer, and each one of us is needed to fulfill God's call. Let's join together in reading, in singing verse 3 of We the Folks. I love that one. We do have this great cloud of witnesses to look back on, to hold dear in our memory, and to exemplify in our present. How we live our lives brings honor to them and keeps the dream alive for future generations. Let's look to the future, committed to being the church with hope and courage, whatever and wherever we find ourselves. Bloom where you're planted, right? So let's take today to honor the past, to recommit ourselves to what's going on now, to the future, and to be God's faithful people of God. Please join in singing the last verse of We the Folks. And may the people say amen.